Augment yourself with our sponsor, G Fuel.
Wait, that was actually kind of clean, what?
Cyborgs! That's the whole bit.
Because when humanity reaches the end of its natural evolution, we'll have no choice but to do it ourselves.
S4Q4NT.YX-003, codename Fulgore.
At LK99, codename Sektor. Still should have been Cyrax. Ah! What the fuck?
For this episode, we'll be primarily focusing on both the original timelines and the well-known reboots from the 2010s of both robo-turned-killers, including other related media such as the comics and shit. With that said, in regards to the female Sektor present in Mortal Kombat, due to her not actually being a cyborg, the vastly differing elements of her character / arsenal, and the OG Sektor himself kind of just being a separate cameo fighter anyways, she will not be considered for this debate, as to not complicate things. Keep it OG, baby!
Oh, that was easy. He's not Wiz and I'm not Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyse their augments, arsenals and skills to find out who would win a not death battle. Ow!
Dick.
The future is cold, unrelenting. Gone are the concepts of joy and contempt. All of it is replaced by apathy and automation.
At the helm of this seemingly dystopian world stood one company, fronted by an all-seeing and omnipresent AI. She's always planning, always watching, one that beckons humanity to evolve or die. The only choice was Ultratech.
Without much to oppose them, Ultratech was tightening its grip on a heartless, barren world. They were the solution that humanity has been needing for so long. But obviously there are those that don't see him as humanity's protector that they so claim.
Whether it's pissing off aliens, turning convicts into the Human Torch, gaslighting werewolves, resurrecting ancient warlords, or, cheating in sports, with this much shit hitting the fan, Ultratech needed something that could help maintain order, while simultaneously silencing those that would cause certain issues.
Whether it was truly out of necessity for Arya's sake, Lex Luthor over there because he kinda just wanted to, or some random dude looking for a promotion, Ultratech didn't discover their answer, they created it. The Mark 01 prototype, Fulgore!
Standing at an impressive 6'5", with eyes that stare into the soul, the Fulgore prototype was designed with only one purpose: to be a mass-produced weapon of ultimate destruction. To top it off, it's also adorned with a plume, likening it to an old-fashioned knife.
While they had the badass look down, Ultratech wanted to see what this prototype could do firsthand, by entering it into the Killer Instinct tournament. While you would think this would be a stupid field test, lo and behold, Fulgore started kicking some serious ass.
Packed with thrusters to increase its mobility, and plasma claws on its arms that can slice through anything, Fulgore is a true monster at any range. It'll rush in close with a cyber dash blades drawn, then send you flying with a plasma slice.
And B, I appreciate you calling it its actual name, but please, that's a Shoryuken. Plain and simple, just like these Hadoukens!
Laser storms actually, which Fulgore can fire in spurts.
Which is gonna hurt you, since Fulgore can use its reflect to say no to that. Which will then close the gap anyway with a plasma port, and I'm sorry, the robot can what?
Once it's got you in its sights, Fulgore can then proceed to transform its entire fucking head into a turret and gun your ass in the next tomorrow. Or use its eye laser to attempt to do surgery.
S for surgery, buddy!
Wait, hold on.
Also, for some divine powers, Fulgore can point its claws at someone, causing them to dance in humiliation as they are forced to bust a move for the rest of their lives.
Or just busting up people in general. This prototype was more than a match for several of the tournament's fighters, being able to uppercut opponents like TJ Combo and Orchid several meters in the air. Orchid, along with Jago, were also capable of hurling Idol through a portal. He's fat!
Fulgore is also comparable to other fighters such as Cinder, who using his powers was capable of flying towards this volcano in a short span of time, helped to be around Mach 1.4, putting Fulgore at pretty good supersonic speeds. And racing.
After all, Ultratech claimed that despite the immense technology at their disposal, there was no suitable AI to operate Fulgore at peak capacity. They needed something that wasn't technological in origin.
And isn't it strange that one of the other combatants, Chief Thunder, entered the tournament solely to find an answer as to what happens to his missing brother, right after trying to expose the secrets of Ultratech?
Sadly, any chances of Thunder finding out, fucking anything, would soon disappear when the first prototype would fall to Jago in battle. Or it was like randomly put into a museum in like one arcade ending, but who cares?
Even though the first prototype was destroyed or became an extra for night at the museum, the results it showed in the tournament proved that the Fulgore initiative wasn't for naught. There was still potential here, and Ultratech wasn't finished.
The aptly named Mark II was built to be superior to the first model in every way. Sleeker, more refined, and now twice as deadly. This new and improved Fulgore's only command was to find Jago and make him pay.
Everything you knew about the first prototype just got a lot more epic. New ways to slice you up, improved eye lasers which can now shoot mid-air. And yes, it can still somehow teleport.
Plasma port. The Mark II model also has some unique features of its own. For one, its built-in lock-on system, which allows for better aim and to spam those triple laser storms. Laser storms. Its reflector move was also shifted to the chest, where it can now straight up electrocute cunts. Neat.
Or the thing can just straight up turn invisible now. While it is only finite, depending on Fulgore's energy levels, or it's hit enough times. I mean, invisibility! That ain't camo!
Now, head turrets are one thing, but this model can straight up transform itself into some big buff Terminator freak with machine guns for hands, who'll just like proceed to start fucking blasting and never stop. Okay.
Oh, sure, let's just ignore the orbital laser that it can just call out of nowhere to vaporize its targets in an instant. Yeah, alright, which is just being to reach it. Cool, no biggie.
With a newer body, it made for a stronger Fulgore too. For example, it and the rest of the cast are capable of slamming each other through this wall in Saber's castle, which when count results in 0.002 tons of TNT. Wall levels, fine.
In your usual arcade playthroughs, characters are capable of sending Gargos flying down this chasm so hard, it makes them explode when he hits the bottom, which usually yields this number. I'm sorry, is the concrete wall stronger?
Fulgore can also contend with new kids on the block, such as Tusk, who just casually pulls a Fujitora and summons fucking meteors! That's hundreds of tons of TNT falling on your face! Definitely too big for rain. Why did you need to bring the wall up again?
And with how tough this newer model is, makes sense that it should keep up with the likes of Thunder as well, right?
Actually, Thunder wasn't in Killer Instinct 2.
Wait, seriously?
No, really. His whole arc of him entering the tournament to find out what happened to his brother, that was just forgotten about. Which is despite the fact that the Fulgore in Killer Instinct 2 still fights like his predecessor, which for all intents and purposes seemed a little too human.
And both Fulgore models seem to fight using the Okiji fighting style, utilizing small-bladed weapons with all that kung fu stuff.
Judo, Taekwondo, and Hapkido actually? Fucking idiot.
Just also the same fighting style as Thunder. How would Fulgore know that if it wasn't taught from some AI or computer programs?
Because maybe Thunder's brother didn't go missing after all. In a sense, he was there the whole time, but in a way no one expected. Because in Ultratech's depravity, who else would be more suited to further their development than the one who tried exposing them in the first place? It was none other than Fulgore's true identity, Eagle.
In an ironic sense of fate, Eagle's well-meaning intentions were used for nothing more than malicious gain. And it was because of his fighting prowess that the Fulgore units were as successful as they were. In the end, no one could really tell for certain what ended up happening to him.
Some say Fulgore fell in battle with Jago and Orchid. In other endings, Fulgore pulls an Uno reverse on them. And even in the OG comics, Thunder was able to save Eagle by taking his helmet off. What?
However, this wasn't the end for either brother's story. Because just like a Fulgore unit, or a cartoon revival, things can always be rebooted!
Killer Instinct 2013, baby! And with a new game, of course, meant a new upgrade. The final, perfected cyborg of Ultratech's dreams. Fulgore Mark III.
Instead of being implanted with Eagle's actual human parts, this iteration was rather installed with his digital consciousness. Because for Arya, having Eagle's mind serve as the basis for robotic super soldiers was just the perfect middle finger for Ultratech's detractors.
I can't really blame her though, since this new model didn't disappoint. Just like his predecessors, he comes packed with what you'd expect. Improved thrusters, faster eye lasers, plasma storm projectiles, yada yada. What if I told you this model has got spinning time claws?
Base police? That's cool and all, but I have to report that this model did lose the reflect move it had in its chest, kind of an L.
You say that now, but once you find out what they replaced it with,
That giant fucking turret somehow!
a nuclear reactor, which Fulgore can change up at any point he likes.
Charge.
Which Fulgore can charge up at any point he likes in order to strengthen his existing attacks with super evil shadow energy, which is a thing now.
So, it's safe to assume that when Fulgore fully charges the thing, it overclocks his systems and boosts his already insane abilities to the max, resulting in ultra combos out the ass, full front and center, and backwards.
Please, everyone knows that's not the reactor's primary function. Hype Beam!
Devastation or Hype Beam, it stays true to both names, as it completely annihilates anything within its path. Because, visuals already do the explaining.
What's more is that Fulgore can just seemingly increase the size of it for no other reason than the flex, to the point where it basically becomes an MVC super. I mean, look at it! This is just one Fulgore model, by the way. Imagine an army of them doing this shit.
It's a good thing they did enter mass production, because soon after, remember that shadow energy? It was there, for a reason. It started with Jago's brainwashing, then an omen to come, and thus the main man himself, Gargos, had entered the scene again.
In the face of such a tyrannical evil, Ultratech had to forego old rivalries and join forces with Earth Defenders just to stand a chance against the Shadow Lord. However, they did get some nifty bonuses from this.
Such as all these items ranging from nanobots, hammers, numerous bodily organs, potions, and other random assortment of shit that grant the Alliance members a wide number of effects, including healing, brief healing shadow energy, bust to attack and defense, giving a player unblockable attacks, or just straight up granting them invulnerability for 15 seconds.
What's more, if a character dies, they can actually be brought back to life using healing scrolls or one of these Phoenix relics, which didn't know they had tomes of undying on board with them, but alright.
It should be reasonable that Fulgore should have access to at least a selection of these items, since he's like the third character you can get in the Shadow Lord's tutorial, and can be used thereafter in future playthroughs thanks to the lore grouping everyone under this alliance.
And drastic times call for dire measures, such as giving Fulgore the go-ahead to launch a full-blown artillery strike if needed. For reference on how strong Ultratech's arsenal is, in the 2013 Killer Instinct comics, Arya decided to send these missiles to bomb the bases of these vampires. Which are there? These are big booms, the largest of which is counted to be 12.92 tons, my guy.
Don't count Fulgore himself out! Also in Shadow Lords, it's shown that he has some limited ability to hack stuff, such as deactivating other Fulgore units to avoid fighting them directly, or manually reprogramming a morality chip to stop them from being evil. Wish I had a morality chip.
Yeah, it's called your brain.
Which would explain a lot. Just like this instance here, where Fulgore was able to beat the shit out of Thunder, or here with Orchid. Thunder likewise is able to contend with and throw the massive war golem Argonos, which is a lot heavier than Fulgore from looks alone. And don't worry, Orchid's over there destroying cars with a big fire cat thing.
Even that's nothing compared to what Thunder could do on his own, such as in his official backstory posted on the Killer Instinct website, where his spirit guy soul thing, the source for all his weather manipulation, had the power to create massive storms.
Storms that when Kelt can get into the megatons of TNT. With just his soul! His soul!
Thunder was also able to keep the vampire Mira on the back foot in the online novella. The same Mira who was doing pretty alright after tagging this big ass explosion from a car blowing up. This was caused by Kim Woo, who's capable of deflecting gunfire with her nunchucks.
Or no, to scale the Thunder's speed himself, the guy who can call down lightning, which... What's more, one of these special Fulgore units, meant to be Arya's bodyguards, take the fire blast from Cinder. Remember him? He's literally described as uncontrollable plasma energy. Sadly, these Fulgore units were actually able to beat Cinder, as shown afterwards, but how can you do?
Which is when we start to see the Fulgore units themselves, at least the mass-produced ones, aren't really up to snuff, since it has been stated that high temperatures can cause a lot of the older models to malfunction or even go on a rampage. Get the hint?
Or EMPs of the sort will do the trick and just straight up deactivate them. Plus, you can always see them getting jobbed by the main KI heroes or even peeps from Ultratech themselves, such as again Cinder, using them for practice, and a pack of Riptors wiping out a group of Fulgores as shown here. But when it comes to the main Fulgore himself, it's a different story.
Some may see it as a weakness, but to others, a sign. Time after time again, Fulgore will continue to disobey his direct programming for seemingly no reason. It was as if Eagle's mind was still in there somewhere, doing his best not to give in to the program.
he could have dealt a finishing blow to Orchid, but he didn't. What was passed off as a glitch was a sign of humanity. The same thing with Thunder. When Fulgore was confronted with his defeated brother, he once again refused. And although he got fucking thrashed by Argonauts afterwards, he was still conflicted. It was if the change was becoming permanent.
Which it soon would, because soon after the Alliance banished Gargos from whence he came, Eagle's body, which was kept in a semi-comatose state, would actually be saved as a big middle finger back to Arya. By Glacius of all things?
It was thanks to their Icy Pulse help that Eagle was able to escape Ultratech's confines and take the fight back to them, even helping Glacier get the jump on Arya. Yes, the same super AI that can comprehend situations down to the nanosecond also got jumped by Eagle, a regular human Eagle. No wonder Arya wanted to use Eagle for the basis of Fulgore if he can pull off shit like that.
And thus, Eagle was now a free man. Free from the confinements of Ultratech and Arya's bygone experiments. Free from being an enslaved mind to a body he didn't own. Free to do whatever he wished. Sure, maybe it was a weakness of Fulgore that he even showed signs of humanity. That by not submitting himself to the whims of Ultratech, he was made obsolete. A tool that no longer served its function.
But as Eagle, that weakness is his greatest strength. His humanity is what saved him from the brink of destruction. What drove him to keep fighting, to keep pushing forward. He went through a living hell, but his living being is living proof to show that Ultratech, humanity, didn't need to evolve. They were already strong, united together, something that Arya couldn't even begin to comprehend.
While it sucks that we still haven't gotten an official meeting between Eagle and Thunder in canon as of now, you can still trust that both he and Eagle will keep fighting the good fight, and would stop at nothing in order to eliminate Ultratech's grasp on the world at any cost.
I would expect nothing less from a former employee of Evil Walmart.
Wait, hang on, no, his Eagle isn't!
Wako imimwa kiswit. He tusksa.
Supreme victory!
All realms were in danger. Also, why does OST fight? To save them and the timeline, the Thunder God Raiden had to gather countless warriors of the earth before the tyrannical Shao Kahn could unleash his evil.
That was his mission! Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, Sonya, and more had to kick their jets and jam!
For you see, in the tournament known as Mortal Kombat, 10 straight losses would have led to the conquering of Earth realm at the hands of Shao Kahn, and Raiden was staring into the face of his 10th loss.
Until seemingly out of nowhere, Liu Kang! And thus Earthrealm had won, ending the millennium-long reign of Prince Goro as champion. Out of options, Shao Kahn considered multiple plans to conquer the world he desired. And eventually, he came up with a goldie.
Using the necromantic powers of his subordinate Shang Tsung, Kahn resurrected his dead wife Sindel. He was just so been chilling in Earthrealm, giving Kahn the legal right to claim what was so rightfully his.
Reaching across the realms, the Furies began becoming unbalanced, and Earthrealm fused with Kahn's domain of Outworld.
As a result, a massive tornado of souls, a soulnado if you would, was created. Billions of lives, and hopefully some aliens, across the whole of Earthrealm were absorbed, with only Raiden's chosen few being protected by his now limited abilities.
Unbeknownst to Kahn, however, a group of Chinese warriors had begun a program that would make them immune to the effects of the merger. A group of soulless fighters. 3 prototype cyborgs were produced: LK-72, LK-44, and LK-99.
Better known as Sektor. Faster, stronger, and devoid of any soul for Outworld to take, Sektor was programmed with the sole purpose of retrieving his former ally, Sub-Zero, and forcing him to join the program.
Sektor is a member of the Lin Kuei, a group of Chinese assassins loosely based on the Shang Dynasty clan, the Lin Gui, who military historian and author Terry Crowdy notes are considered by some to be the originators of Japanese ninja skills. Not that we have much evidence either way.
In some ways, calling him a ninja is almost an insult to what this guy can do. He's not just a master of espionage and spying, but an assassin unparalleled even amongst his peers, whether it be assassination or condiment.
And befitting a master of silent kills and even the art of silenter spying, Sektor comes in built with an array of inaudible and near invisible weapons of death.
Like the nearly invisible flamethrower that burns at 3,000 degrees, the unseen rocket thrusters for long-range fisting, famously dim electric knockout attacks, and the silent chest missile, with homing variants so accurate they can weave through the air and tag individual limbs that have been blown off of someone's body. What blew up their body? That's right, another missile.
This is one of Sektor's fatalities. Special moves designed specifically for killing.
Oh, okay, so shooting the person with a missile isn't meant to kill them, I see. Fair enough.
Sektor doesn't only use his standard weapons to kill, but even specialized equipment, like his Law of Conservation of Massifying Compactor, or this weird little device that explodes your limbs outwards to make a scarecrow or something. Hey, at least it makes more sense than turning into a bat to maul someone, or Jerry the Rhino.
With all these weapons, you almost forget that Sektor's physical body is itself part of his arsenal. As a cyborg, he possesses superior strength and durability to the average person, and able to hold his own against all sorts of random bullshit.
With his mastery of ninjutsu, kenpo, and sambo, Sektor is an expert at the art of unconventional military tactics and espionage, some kind of fighting that, due to the generalization of the term, we cannot really determine for certain, and Soviet Union originated amateur sports wrestling.
Okay. While we can sit here making fun of the specific wording, it's clear that Sektor specializes in the most combat applicable variants of these styles. Just not sure which one lets him teleport into flying uppercuts. Probably the Soviets. He's a veritable killing machine of high efficiency. And with these skills, it was clear that he would be able to bring down Sub-Zero.
Except he didn't. Sektor failed to retrieve his former ally, and his fellow cyborgs end up regaining their humanity without him. Some might believe Sektor simply never got the chance, abandoned by those he once considered allies, but those people would be far from the truth.
In reality, Sektor was never his code name, but rather the true name of a warrior trained from birth, with undying loyalty to the Lin Kuei, the son of the Grandmaster himself.
As the Lin Kuei accepted the advancement of technology, Sektor was the hero that chose to spearhead the plan of turning all their ninjas into robots.
Well, again, not ninjas, but shut up.
You shut up!
A seemingly emotionless machine dedicated only to his job, Sektor was one of the few Lin Kuei who remained after Khan's attempt to take Earthwell, and was sent to find one of his former allies. He failed at that one too.
Imprisoned or restored, the other cyborg prototypes ceased being part of the Lin Kuei, and it turned out that even Sektor himself may not have been as perfect as he assumed.
After many battles against Outworld's forces, Sektor's mind had begun to unravel. The circuitry in his head was damaged, and his once undying loyalty soon turned to undying ambition.
Believing himself superior, he killed his own father and took his place as leader of the Lin Kuei. Kind of like a really shit shockwave.
Yeah, really shit. Because right as he got his hands on the now important Dragon Medallion, Sub-Zero beat him down and took it back.
But ambition like that is not so easily quelled. Sektor fled to Japan and formed a clan of cybernetic ninjas known as the Tekunin. So now he's definitively a ninja.
What the fuck does he mean by Tekunin? What, like Tech-Nin? Tech Ninja? Creativity like that is why Sega is still making.
Flying high above everyone else on his Tekunin warship, Sektor would make his reappearance during the Battle of Armageddon, as the realms began to split and were set ablaze. The power of the collective combatants threatening to tear apart reality, the demigod known as Taven received a message from his father.
Eager to know more, Sektor surprised Taven and brought him in for questioning. And then he got attacked. All of his Tekunin got beaten to death by Taven, and then Sektor himself got his ass beat. His ass ending dead somehow during the final battle.
Good job, Sektor. You know, for a so-called perfect ninja, not ninja, someone who can pull off stealth flawlessly if he wanted using the power of fucking invisibility, Sektor is surprisingly incompetent.
But he get his second chance when Raiden turned back the timeline. Or most other times, Kronika. In the next timeline, Sektor was not an enemy of Outworld, but rather their ally that aided Khan's conquest long before he even became a cyborg.
Once again, Sektor took the place of the Grandmaster of the Lin Kuei, but this time he lasted just a little bit longer.
But who would show up to ruin his day again? It's Sub-Zero. It's always Sub-Zero. That Kuai Liang.
He arrived at Sektor's base, finding him not only cyberizing, but also cloning the Lin Kuei. By removing the slaving program, Sub-Zero freed the Lin Kuei from Sektor's control.
Facing the dissenting forces, Sektor and Sub-Zero engaged in an intense clash, with Sektor's flames matching against Sub-Zero's ice powers.
And then Sub-Zero stopped holding back and killed him with ease. This man just can't catch a break!
To add insult to injury, Sektor's severed head contained information that allowed for the reconciliation of the Lin Kuei with their ancient enemies, the Shirai Ryu. Sektor didn't just lose control over the Lin Kuei, he then died, and his decapitated head was used to unify his clan with their arch rivals.
Okay, one last time. After this, Kronika, the Mad Titan of Time, displaced Sektor, allowing him to redo the exact same events as before over again, which, you guessed it, he lost to Sub-Zero again.
Or Scorpion.
But this time, he was augmented after his humiliating loss. Donned with a new set of armor, he wasn't down to take down the Special Forces Desert Command. Something he actually pulled off!
W in hand, Sektor would get one more, as he was able to lead his forces to take down the likes of Sonya Blade, an SF officer that, though weaker, could potentially match the likes of Tremor.
This ugly lug of her was able to create earthquakes toppling whole cities, a feat potentially worth kilotons of TNT. If you don't believe me, it's an earthquake for crying out loud!
Sektor is likely fast enough to match other MK characters as well, some of which could react to Raiden's lightning, or in gameplay even block Kotal Khan's light rays.
And yet, with all these augments, Kronika never thought to give Sektor any of his original timeline weaponry, like his pulse blades, actual sweet royalty-free lightsabers. You're not gonna dispute that?
No, not at all. Those are fucking lightsabers. Though I'd rather spend my time looking at the actual fucking laser gun that he can pull out.
A laser gun capable of firing lasers. That's about it. It shoots lasers.
Veronica didn't give him these back? What the hell did she even give him then?
A self-destruct device that Kano used to kill him for some reason. Foiling their plan is ultimately all the heroes were able to survive by being teleported away by Raiden, and later Frost was able to come back with more cyborg ninjas anyway, making this even more pointless.
What? Why? Why does nothing ever go right for this guy?
The truth? Sektor really isn't all he's cracked up to be. While some could look at his descent into madness as being the result of a man losing everyone around him, it's likely the madness itself was what drove him mad.
Sektor was promised perfection by the cyberization process. The moment he began to feel emotions once more, he couldn't handle them. He wasn't meant to feel them again, yet here they are, crawling back into his mind, scraping at the door.
Sektor was a master of combat and stealth, augmented with weaponry one could only dream of and wielding freaking laser weapons. But he couldn't nab a single win past beating up an old man, too stupid to realize that making his masters of stealth into loud and heavy clank machines was a bad idea.
Looking only at the mainline video games, Sektor does not have a single on-screen victory against any noteworthy characters. He is not a character with scaling, he's the character that everybody scales to.
But honestly, why shouldn't he strive for leadership? A father who only saw him as a tool, friends he perceived as traitors due to their lacking loyalty, and leaders who refused to give him the chance to truly shine.
Perhaps somewhere out there exist timelines where Sektor got to live as he wanted. Timelines where he fused with his fellow prototypes into a single, unstoppable Triborg.
Maybe even timelines where, after killing Sub-Zero, he died a hero that saved mankind from Shao Kahn's reign.
But such timelines have been erased, destroyed in events so grand that Sektor himself was only a bit player.
But it is the fool who turns their back on a one-man army that can kill you from the shadows before you ever knew he was there.
Those who find themselves the target of a ninja clan spreading like a virus across Japan need only remember one thing. Nobody's perfect, but Sektor is a hell of a lot closer than you.
You're a cyborg.
We are the Lin Kuei, more stealthful than the night, more deadly than the dawn.
Thank you to everyone who submitted fan art!
You know what time it is?
Sir, look out!
What is the guy that sounds exactly like me, but it's not me?
Sir, he's here! Chief Commander rampaging through our facility!
What? But it's the perfect embodiment of a plant-based energy formula!
Exactly! One that lacks calories and carbs! And sugars!
He's the perfect cheat code in the can for an epic game bar!
Exactly! He comes in over 50 flavors of cans! Or tubs!
Isn't he filled with caffeine, though?
Exactly!
And its energy formula isn't suitable for those under 18. Only us responsible adults can drink it. Responsibly!
Isn't there a non-caffeine version?
Exactly! The hydration range!
A guy with the same shirt as me. When can I buy it? He's right behind me, isn't he? Nope!
If you're mad!
man. Don't worry, old friend. I was just heading down to a link to the description to use code BLOODRIGHT for 20% off my order.
That guy's my fucking hero. And the combatants are set. Let's end this pointless debate once and for all.
It's time for a death battle! I what?
The leader of the Tekunin going after little old me? Do you really think I am the one in charge here?
Ultratech has acquired the Dragon Battalion. I demand to know its location and the status of its owner.
I wouldn't worry so much about making me talk. Your Tekunin are already hacking this database as we speak.
Then I will stop wasting my time.
Before you end my life, might I give you a word of advice, Sektor?
Speak quickly, and the chance you took the opportunity to end Sub-Zero from me, I will savor your death.
Fair enough, my friend. All I have to say is this. When you sneak into the office of a high-ranking member of Ultratech, you really ought to pay better attention.
A machine. Your cybernetics are safeguarded. Fight! What is this machine made of? My circuits. I'll kill you! Tekunin, bring the warship! All weapons. Fire!
Grandmaster, we can no longer see the target!
What? The cloaking device. So that's how I couldn't detect it earlier. Fire on that area. Leave nothing standing.
Grandmaster Sektor!
What?
We have infiltrators on board!
Infiltrators.
Why can't we stop dancing?
I have no idea.
There's more of that thing. Initiate code K0NN1HS.
Affirmative!
Now crash the shit down on that machine!
The Grandmaster! The target is in that building! Shouldn't we—
Keep quiet! Do as I say to you! See now. You're a cyborg. I've located your cybernetics!
Don't you dare. Don't you dare!
CTV! I am Grandmaster! What? My circus! What have you done? No! All missiles fire! I will not be killed by an inferior machine! You inferior, imperfect cyborg.
Excellent work, Fulgore. Return immediately. Fulgore? Fulgore? Respond now, Fulgore!
Holy fuck farts! I really thought Sektor had this one in the bag!
What the fuck do you mean you thought Sektor had this? Did you even pay attention to the analysis?
Wizarders? Why didn't anyone tell me?
Upon first look, Fulgore and Sektor, when being generous, were closer in a few ways than one might assume. Such as...
Weaponry for starters, both pretty much evened out in a broad sense. Fulgore had the ability to reflect range attacks, which was pretty big. But they could both turn invisible, teleport, and shoot stuff at each other. Sektor had things like flamethrowers and stun weapons, but Fulgore had energy beams up the razoo, and spinning time claws.
If you look beyond weapons into their overall arsenals though, things start to sway towards Fulgore, with multiple healing items and revival items that Sektor could only dream of having. And even as his artillery strikes and gigantic laser beams, which he can seemingly summon on a whim with pretty much no consequence.
It's really hard to avoid the simple fact that things just kind of keep leaning towards Fulgore the more you look at it.
When it comes to finishing moves, Sektor's flamethrower, scarecrow device, and compactor weren't really up to much. Fulgore's gigantic turret and buff Terminator mode, however, those could actually prove useful because guns. And his devastation beam was generally going to be a problem for the non-ninja.
In terms of skill, Sektor is likely more well trained, but Fulgore simply has more experience actually pulling off shit in fights. Sektor's stealth training is also great.
And let's just get to the stats. Beginning with speed, things are actually relatively even. Both can react to lightning and have scaling to light speed or nanosecond reactions. Fulgore's high ends would jump up ahead, but let's be generous, just put them at a similar range.
We can't in good faith do this for strength though. With Fulgore, things are fairly simple. He directly dominates Thunder, and Thunder's powers are strong enough to summon storms so large that they can be worth 4.26 megatons of TNT. Yikes.
How does Sektor stack up to that? Well, he's much harder to quantify, you see. Sektor isn't just a jobber who loses every fight. He's such a meaningless victory that any of his opponents actively are not winded, are not injured, and go on to do whatever they were already going to do as if he wasn't even there.
Sektor has never won a fight on screen, and he's never offered a challenge to anyone he's fought on screen either. There is no reason to believe he scales to characters who defeat him with minimal effort, especially when we pivot to the comic and see Sub-Zero only struggling because he held back.
Narratively, everything suggests Sektor as being just really low tier. His best scaling is his own goons holding Sonya captive, scaling Sonya to her own guns that could barely damage Tremor, and you get your scaling chain.
For that, Tremor's Earthquake, when taken generously, only gets the 494 kilotons of TNT. Start to see the problem here?
That would put Fulgore at almost 10 times stronger than Sektor, and that's being very generous for Sektor.
To get it out of the way, you can technically come to some manner of conclusion that Sektor or Fulgore can scale to the game's final bosses, Shao Kahn and Gargos. But neither of these conclusions would be supported by the story.
Shao Kahn could effortlessly defeat characters that can match or even themselves easily beat Sektor, like Johnny Cage with his god-defying energy, or even beat Liu Kang, who is absolutely higher in the rankings than Sektor. Literal fire dragon versus dinky little flamethrower.
And Gargos' entire deal in Shadow Lords is that you just can't walk up to him and take it on with your regular strength. And all the world's fighters had to band together just to even stand a chance against him. Fulgore couldn't reasonably be said to be as strong as him, especially not individually.
The only arguments for scaling have to ignore the narrative intention of the characters and stories, and would turn this from not Fulgore vs. Sektor, but to Killer Instinct vs. Mortal Kombat overall. And that's just fucking lame, guys, come on.
You really have to bend over backwards to argue Sektor scaling to the pinnacle of Mortal Kombat, when he can't even beat Smoke.
Fulgore is 10 times stronger than Sektor on a good day, and is probably far, far stronger even then, without being generous with the tremor feed.
And compiled with all the other things, like Fulgore's impossible to avoid artillery strike, his potential ability to hack Sektor's cybernetics, the abilities he has access to via Shadow Laws like temporary invincibility or healing or buffing his own stats, it just comes together to overwhelm Sektor in every category.
If you consider failure to be experience, then Sektor does have more battle experience at least.
Even down to their armies, if you want to call it that. Fulgore has multiple Fulgore units on his side, each fairly strong, but Sektor's Tekunin are all capable of doing nothing but getting one shot and exploding into jelly. Also, can each of the Tekunin unleash giant unibeams of death whenever they choose? Thought so.
Frankly, what the hell is Sektor himself going to do about that shit? I mean, come on!
Even if you looked past the stats and abilities and all that, Fulgore has an advantage just by being who he is. Sektor is a man who went mad because his programming failed him. Feeling emotions when he was supposed to be perfect broke him. He is someone who solely relied on entirely being a machine.
Fulgore is not. Fulgore's freedom from machination was not born from faulty programming, but strength of will. The man known as Eagle fought for his freedom. The man known as Sektor died from his freedom.
Eagle had the strength to fight tooth and claw for his life, and came out stronger for it. With a little bit of help from Glacier, sure, but he still made a conscious effort to never stop fighting ever since the day he defied Ultratech. Sektor was only fueled by a lust for power and senseless violence, thus choosing to rely on automation to cheat his way to becoming stronger.
Eagle was always against it, while Sektor always craved it. In the end, the canon for both fighters paved the way for how those stories would end. A warrior who still continues to fight to this very day, and a depraved savage whose only legacy helped his enemies long after his final moments.
Nice going on that one, loser.
To put it simply, with his ninja ability, Sektor could outmaneuver Fulgore's bulk, but Fulgore at the edge in every other category.
He had more options for defense, close and long range combat. Being almost twice as big, his size and strength surmounted Sektor's.
And while neither of them has successfully defeated their rivals, Sektor has been humiliated by Sub-Zero over and over. But Fulgore would have won his second duel with Jago if Orchid hadn't stepped in.
It took the combined might of two demigod killers to take Fulgore down.
In the end, Sektor got row-blown up.
That was fucking shit, holy crap!
What are you, cyborg? I guess puns just aren't in your sector. Luckily for us, our winner was able to fully gore his opponent. His killer instinct proving the mortality of his opponent combatant. In a battle that showed the Lin Kuei Ninja are the best fighters around.
I fucking walked into that one and I decided to regret every choice I've made in my life.
I'm always happy to Sektor man you.
No, shut up! The winner is fucking Fulgore! Now you! Shut the fuck up!
I would, but I'd rather keep talking so I can say, next time on Not Just Battle!